Andy Gaunt.
G'day, Mr. James McGrath. How are you?
G'day. I'm doing really well, thanks. It's early doors for you, isn't it? We're recording slightly earlier than normal. I'm surprised you sat upright and you haven't got coffee spilled all over your front.
I never have coffee spilled all over my front, but it is. Wait, tell me this. It's a very pommy phrase, early doors. Are there late doors?
Oh, yeah. Early doors is like, when they shut the doors of the pub closed early.
Is that where that comes from?
Yeah. So,
I see.
Yeah, and so, sometimes like on Sundays, they used to close the pubs at, 3:30 in the afternoon.
And that'd be early doors.
Yeah, and that'd be early doors. Or you'd have some pubs that would open for lunch and then close in the afternoon, and they'd open up later. And,
right.
If you were going to go for early doors, you'd have to get there in time. So have your lunch, have a pint, and then
I see.
Off you go.
I see. So if this is your first time tuning into Curb and Canyon, we are a podcast about Porsches and English colloquialisms. So thanks for tuning in. And I've got to say to everyone tuning in, I know we've been a little bit up and down with records and outputs of the podcast lately. Life's gotten in the way a few times for James and I over the last few weeks. So thank you very much for your patience. Very much appreciate it.
Yes, thank you everybody for your patience. But let's not start on a downer. We have had dude. I've been looking at the stats from our podcast platform. We've had more downloads per episode week to week during our second season than we did in our first season, and the growth has been I wouldn't say exponential.
Would you say explosive?
I might not say explosive, but it's certainly stirring. It's arousing. Yeah. It's growing. We are growing. It's really fantastic. The numbers, not only inside baseball here, I guess, is the expression they use in the States. No one really cares about this, but we care about people enjoying our podcast, and we don't get any feedback really unless people send us a message on Instagram or on Facebook and say, oh, hey, I liked the pod the other day. And I'm like, well, great. That's awesome. You don't have that immediate kind of satisfaction with the comments on a YouTube video where you start chatting with people almost immediately.
That's true.
So we get the statistics. We get downloads per day, and we get downloads within the first week of. Anyway, I'm a little bit of a stato, and that's really exciting, Andy. So let's be excited about this.
Yes, and note to self: thank Mum for sharing with her friends.
Mrs. Gaunt, you're a treasure. We love you. Yeah. Welcome to Curb and Canyon.
Hey, so a couple of things we got lots to get through today.
We have, and with your mum listening and my mum listening, they're going to be absolutely riveted this week.
There's no doubt about that. We've already covered colloquialisms, but now let's get into the Porsche stuff. We're gonna talk a little bit about the GT3RS. I know that's somewhat old news now, but I really just want to cover that off from our perspective. You've been at Checked It Out Chicago. I've done a winter rally here. It's been quite the fortnight.
It has. Yeah, it has. And I'm also super excited for this week's video of the week. Primarily because I watched it and I've done my prep for the session.
This is two in a row, James.
But it is very special. It is very special. So we'll get to that as well.
Indeed.
But yeah, man, the GT3RS. And okay, so it was announced a couple of weeks ago. It was sort of rumored several months ago. We all knew it was coming. It's not one of those models that comes out of the blue and surprises us like, I don't know, the R did with the 991 generation or the Touring. But now that it's here, it's like it's Christmas Day for the people that love the racetrack cars, the racing spec cars. It seems to be an opportunity to make some fun for the folks who a little bit more on the conservative end of design choices, and I've seen like a pretty mixed reaction actually to it. Even myself, some days I find myself loving it. Some days I find myself being like, have they gone too far this time? But it's here, and it's making all the buzz.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I remember when we were seeing spy shots of it at the Nürburgring and then spy shots of it out and about on the road. And I remember thinking, oh man, what have they done? They've gone too far. They've been drinking too much of their own Kool-Aid. They took the back door off the house and bolted it onto the back of the car as a spoiler. And this is just all too much. I've got to be honest. And let's just pause and kind of run through some stats here. Everyone's heard this, I'm sure. 4-litre flat six, 525 horsepower, which isn't a huge horsepower leap over the standard GT3. 0 to 60, 3.2 seconds. To be honest, I don't really care about the 0 to 60 anymore.
I do.
I don't, because a Tesla can kill everyone. So what? 0 to 60, bah. What I'm interested in, here's two things that I'm interested in. 860 kilograms of downforce and Formula One inspired DRS. There is aero on this car like you wouldn't believe. The front shocks, the front suspension actually has aero wings on it. I think it's incredible. As I say, I was ready to hate this car. I can't imagine the use case for it. I don't know where or when one would use this car.
Evading law enforcement.
And I can't imagine ever buying one, but I freaking love it. I love that they made it. I love that they said, do you know what? The GT3 now is pretty hardcore as it is, and that is truly that do-everything track day road car.
Yeah.
This is, I think, far less compromising, and I'm sure there's going to be feedback from the people who buy this car and want to drive it to Cars and Coffee and talk about how it's too stiff for cruising up the PCH. But the reality is it's not been designed for that. I don't know. I love it. I love that they've thrown everything, including the kitchen sink, at this car to say, do you know what? When corporate gives us our head, this is what we're capable of.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same way. I think originally I was maybe a little bit suspicious. I mean, let's face it, when the GT3 came out in the 992 range, I actually thought that was the RS just because of the size of the wing that was on the back of it. I was like, wait, did we skip the GT3? Did we go straight to the RS? Because the nostrils, and the aero on the GT3 is arguably nuts compared to what they've done on previous generations. But yeah, the RS has just taken it to that next level. And I think, in some ways, do you ever make a mistake when you're working on a project, or I don't know, you're doing something, you've made a mistake, you've gone too far. And at that point, you're just like, well, if we're going to go this far, I'm
all in.
Let's just completely go in, all in. And I think after they got past the GT3, they thought, you know what, guys, this is it. Let's just go for it. And I think they've gone for it. And as much as I'm not a huge fan of that massive wing and blah, 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 I appreciate what it is in that it's for the racing enthusiast. It's for the guys that want to push every single bit of power through the car to get every single tenth of a second shaved off their lap time. It's for the people that have the regular Carrera and they have their fancy turbo for the weekends and they just want the race car as well. I mean, that's what it's for. And they're not going to be making thousands and thousands of these things. I expect maybe it's going to be 1,000. Unless they've already said they're only going to be making 500 like they are, but they're not going to be making huge amounts.
I don't think it's crazy limited.
Okay, really, but still,
no, I don't think so.
Like you said, it's not. I wouldn't suspect that it's for the everyman. Sort of every Porsche owner. It's for the track enthusiast. It's for those that want that ultimate sort of racing experience in a street legal car.
I feel like it's one of those cars as well that the first time you see it will blow your mind. Because what Porsche tends to do is release these cars and we see them, we see the promo videos, we see the press shots, and we think, oh yeah, I'm not sure about that. And then you see one in real life for the first time. It's like the first time I saw a 992 GT3. I wasn't 100% on board when I saw the photography of it. And then the first time I saw it in real life, blew me away. I thought, this is just superb. It's gorgeous. It has so much presence. Imagine how much presence this is going to have. The idea that it's for the person that wants to really extract the highest level of performance on the track. I completely sign on to that. I wonder what the percentage of buyers of these cars will be that use it for that purpose versus rolling up to Cars and Coffee and getting bragging rights.
I think it's 50-50 at best.
Yeah. So there's two. I have two questions around it from a not concerns, but whatever. Of course, they're not concerns. I'm never buying one. Two questions though. One is with respect to this central radiator, which now actually fills the frunk, so you don't get a frunk. To me, that's a slight change in the ethos of what the 911 has always been. You know, the car that you can drive to the track it, and then drive it home. There's a little philosophical shift in that for me. And then the second thing is this adjustable damping, that you have the ability to adjust your damping from the steering wheel in the cockpit. I spent 20 years riding downhill mountain bikes and getting really deep into the weeds on suspension, on compression and rebound and all that stuff. Most people don't know what the fuck they're doing and mess up their bikes when they're trying to adjust their suspension. Really? So to take your plus $500,000 car and have the ability to mess with the suspension, are people just going to be completely destroying the ride on these things?
Probably. Yeah, I imagine so. I'm the quintessential button presser. If there's a button to press, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you'll do it.
Yeah.
What's this do?
Exactly. I'd be the guy in the movie that blows himself up. Yeah, so I would take that one off the table completely, because if I had that option, I wouldn't know I had it. And if I did figure out that there was an extra button to press, I would press it. And if it broke my car, well, that's my own tough luck for being an idiot. But the first one about losing the frunk, I kind of get that. Maybe it is losing a little bit of did you say ethos to the what the 911 was all about originally? I mean, maybe, but if you just take your definition of the 911, which is a car that you can drive to the track and drive home again, you don't need a frunk for that. You just need an extra set of trolleys in the glove box in case you lose it going around a corner, and maybe something to drink, money for the tunnel, that kind of thing. They're all things that you can fit in your pockets or in the dash. But again, how many people do you know that track their cars actually drive their cars to the track?
Yeah, I know. And I'm not losing sleep over this.
yeah. As you're thinking about shelling out that $500,000.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, regardless of some of these practical concerns, the idea of DRS on a car, I just love that. I love that it has it. I love that you could say, and this car's got DRS. I just feel like they went, you know what? Let's throw every bit of technology we can at this. Let's throw everything we've learned, everything we know into this one car. And you know what? People will either get it or they won't. And I get it. I will never have one. I could never see myself buying one. I don't know what I would use it for, but I freaking love that they did it.
But you see, I think at the same time, they're having to do things like this because they can't release the next generation of 911 with a model that is less superior than the previous generation. Even if, like, we're looking at the horsepower, what is it, 15 or 20 horses over the 991.2? The 0 to 60, I think, is the same, or it's like a tenth of a second less.
15th faster.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And arguably, they are nearly twice the price. You know, so just think about the sort of the dollar to improvement ratio is dreadful.
Oh yeah,
on this particular
talk about
model.
the point of diminishing returns,
Right, but they don't care. I don't think they care because the next GT3RS has to be faster. It has to be more powerful, even if it's just 1 horse or a tenth of a second. It has to be better. It has to be faster. And so they're at the stage now where they've got to take such extreme measures to make those adjustments. You know, it's the whole kind of Six Sigma concept. And they're down to that. They're down to every single fraction of a measurement of a unit, and it might cost $1 million, but they just want to nudge the needle that little bit further closer to perfection.
Well, so let me ask you this, because I mentioned earlier that I don't really care about the 0 to 60 time, because I think those numbers now are virtually meaningless because any EV will be quicker anyway. So you can't sell performance based on 0 to 60. My feeling is that now the empirical measurement of whether a car is a successful performance car is that Nordschleifer lap time, right? It's all about the lap time, because that then talks to, okay, it's obviously got the speed, it's got the top speed, but it also has the ability to carry corner speed. Now, I heard Preuninger saying that this car can get around a corner on R-Spec tires faster than a cup car on slicks. There's so much downforce, so much aero. So my thinking is that they're absolutely chasing the Nürburgring time, which we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's coming.
Yeah.
And that's where you get to see the development, the strides that they've made. It's not in the difference of 1/10 between 0 to 60 on the previous model and this model. It's, hey, we knocked 6 seconds off our Nürburgring time, because that's perhaps seen as more applicable, and why I think that the focus seemingly with this car has been less about how do we just pour more horsepower into it, and almost going back to the original ethos of the 911, which is how do we make it get around corners quicker.
Yeah. I definitely agree with the second part of that. I'm going to disagree about the 0 to 60, only that I think there's an assumption there that people are equally interested in EVs right now as they are in petrol cars. And I don't think that's the case. I mean, I look across my friends who all drive sports cars, and I think they'll all make the transition to electric ultimately. But for the next 50 years, until they're forced to, they're going to be buying petrol engines, and they do care about 0 to 60. So I think it may be slightly less important than it was, but I think that's still a really important metric for the car enthusiasts. But I hear what you're saying about the Nürburgring, absolutely. And actually, I was thinking, seeing the stats that came out of the GT3RS on the ring, I actually wondered to myself, are they going to start fudging the times for the 911s? They got to the point where they're just not going to be able to do it any faster. And so, 20 years from now, there's going to be a class action lawsuit, just like there has been with VW and the emissions standards around power.
You're very cynical. You're very cynical.
Yeah, I guess so. I am. But, ultimately, would I have one? Yes, I would. But there are probably... first off, there's no chance of me ever getting one, but also there are probably a dozen other different 911s that I'd like before I even took that one out for a test drive. And this is where I can start talking about Checked It Out Chicago this weekend, because, oh my God, Andy.
It looked amazing.
So many good cars. But before I talk about that too much, though, did you see my Instagram story where I tagged you and I was stood by the t-shirt stand?
Indeed, I did. Indeed, I did. I was. I mean, at first, I was very flattered that you tagged me on social media. That was a big thrill for me. But yeah, wow, that was quite the lineup for the t-shirts, huh?
So get this. I was talking to somebody. I won't name him and shame him, but he's basically one of the organizers and sits on the board of Checked It Out Chicago. And we just spent a lot of time talking about the event. And, I was listening to his story and he was listening to my story. And we were stood right by the t-shirt booth. And I was like, you know what? Actually, just talking about my friend Andy, let me just shoot this real quick. And so I turned around. I tagged you on the Instagram Live. I was like, hey, Andy, look, there's no line for the t-shirt, but I'm not going to get you one. After I did that, he like looked at me and was like, dude, that was cruel. My wife was with me and she was like, are you kidding me? You're not going to get Andy a t-shirt? And I was like, oh, for God's sake. All right, I'll get him a t-shirt. So I got you a t-shirt and I've got you stickers and I've got you a lanyard. And just like last year, it might take 10 months to arrive.
I was about to say, I'll believe it when it shows up.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. I make myself laugh quite often. And that one was just, that one was a winner, Andy. I'm going to remember that one for a long time.
Yeah, well, me too, and I can't give you too much stick for it because you did actually get me a T-shirt, which I'll allegedly see at some point. So thank you very kindly, good sir.
You're welcome. It's actually sat next to me right here on the desk as I try not to move the plastic bag it's in and make background.
All right,
noise.
after the pod, let's talk about choice of logistics company to get it here to Australia within the next 12 months.
And you're a 5XL, right? You can wear a 5XL.
I didn't know they were doing moo-moos this year.
wash it on hot, it'll shrink. But dude, what a great event. Especially after talking about Luft with you so much, about last year's event and the event that you went to the year before, that sort of set a bar for me with car events. Yes. You go to a show like Luft, and now you go to a show like Checked It Out Chicago, and there is just such a difference between your local cars and coffee meet, let alone your car groups, and these kind of events where it takes months of planning and staging and just the sheer organization and thought that has to go into something like this to pull it off for what is essentially 6 hours on a Saturday. Once a year, it's absolutely incredible. And walking around Luft with my friend Chris last year, I got it. As soon as I got there and I handed my ticket in and I saw the first car parked on the street, I just thought, okay, yeah, now I know why people, flock from all over the world like yourself to come to these events because...
Yeah, this is why it's a religious experience.
Oh, yeah. It's stunning, breathtaking, inspiring, fun, relaxing, all at the same time. I think there are Buddhas that sit there and meditate that are searching for what we get from the experiences we get from those car shows. And I'm really happy to say that Checked It Out was really similar. The scale was nowhere near as big as Luft, or at least just the one that I went to in Indianapolis last year, which arguably covered, I don't know, 2 or 3 blocks on one street and a warehouse area and 2 or 3 parking lots. This basically took over a single city block and all of the sort of roads that come off it around, almost like like a wheel. But there was still 350 odd cars there on display, and that didn't include all of the cars of the Porsche enthusiasts that just came there and parked up on the street to come to the event. So hundreds of cars, all sorts of generations, all sorts of varieties, all of them just like looking immaculate, whether they were factory, mint 356s that, looked like they just rolled off the showroom floor, or they were highly modified 993s with, fluorescent orange under lighting. That wasn't there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether you're a factory guy or whether you're you're into mods, there was a car there for you, and it was incredible. And what was also fantastic was watching my wife kind of react to it, who has maybe been to Cars and Coffee with me once, and she had no idea what she was walking into coming into this event with me. And she was taking photos of all the cars, and she was like asking, well, what's this one? What's that one? What's this? Dude, it was so good.
Go Ruthie.
Yeah, go Ruthie. I was like, so what was your favorite Porsche of the day? She went, that purple one. I was like, well, actually, there were about 4 purple ones. Which one?
Yeah,
She's
there
like,
are lots.
The purple one. So it could have been a purple 964. It could have been a purple Safari build, or it could have been the purple GT3RS, and then maybe 1 or 2 others. But there were some very nice purple cars there, Andy.
So, and can I ask, did it, because you got to display Bluey at this event, how did that impact your experience? Because it's one thing, as you say, to roll up, to experience it, see all the cars, that's always going to be a thrill, obviously. But to actually be one of the cars in the show, I imagine that elevates it all, right?
You know, it did in some ways, in that, I kind of felt like I was a part of the show, even though I quite literally drove there, parked the car, and walked away. It was like I just, I didn't really have to do anything. But no, I kind of felt involved. I kind of felt part of the show, and it got me certainly a little bit more excited for the day.
Yes.
But, the other side to that is I felt obliged to stay there the whole time. And I am known for ghosting events. I could travel all the way around the world and spend thousands of dollars to go to an event, stay there for half an hour and be like, okay, I've seen it. I'm good. Let's go. I'm not one to stay there all day. Like, I'm dreading the family going to Disneyland because we're going to go on a couple of rides and I'm going to be like, all right, guys, are you done? Can we go back to the hotel now and watch TV?
Yeah, let's miss the traffic. Come on.
So I was there at 6 a.m, parking the car, and I stayed right up until I think 2:45, and the event finished at 3. But quite a few cars had peeled off before then. But I did feel a bit of pressure, I guess, to be there and be present. But it didn't stop me enjoying it. And quite a few people came up to me as I was stood by the car and asked me if it was my car. Some people knew who I was, and they wanted to sit in it, or they wanted to just ask me questions about it. And that was really cool. But walking around, it was just like everyone else. But mate, so special. Just like, I must have taken 1,000 photos, and I'm not going to post them all at all. But every single car deserved a photo, So I kind of felt like I was doing the owner or the event a disservice by walking past a car and not spending some time looking at it or taking a photo. There were 3 Carrera GTs right next to each other. I think there was a black one, a red one,
amazing,
and a yellow one. There were the 3 colors of the German flag.
Oh, that's cool.
Was that planned?
That's so cool.
Or was that just, oh my God, $3 million worth of cars painting the German flag right there for the Porsche enthusiast? Dude, the nerd inside me was going mad.
But see, that's where I love, you talked about this before, the level of planning that goes into an event like this. It's not just the setting aside of the venue, the setting aside of the dates, the promotion of it, but it's the getting into the minutiae so that you have these little moments as you walk through the show, like that one where your first thought is, oh, wow, there's a Carrera GT. Your second thought is, oh, wow, there's 3 Carrera GTs. And then there's this little final thought, which is, oh, hang on, that's really cool. That's the German flag. It's those it's those little things where it just keeps giving you something extra. That's where these events, I think, go way beyond just the, your standard Sunday morning Cars and Coffee.
Yeah. I also love how open and friendly everyone was as well. And I think people talk about this a lot in car culture in general, but particularly for Porsche. There were a couple of cars that stood out to me as I was walking around at the beginning of the morning. There was a there was a yellow 996 like speedster, and it's like a modified kind of speedster, and it had a funny license plate that was like speed yellow or something like that, and that stuck in my head. And then an hour later, I'm talking to some guy, super nice. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's my car over there." I'm like, "Well, there you go, awesome." So you're just a regular guy. I spoke to one of the owners of the GTs. I spoke to some of the owners of the vintage cars, and everyone there just like super nice, super friendly. No kind of air of celebrity or bullshit or anything like that. It was just, hey, I'm here to enjoy these cars and let's chat. I felt so comfortable, and I'm the first person to start feeling awkward at events like that, which is one of the reasons why after half an hour I'm like, bye.
The ghosting thing is an interesting thing, because when I was at Luft, I was with my pal Kale, and I remember there was a point in the afternoon where he looked at me. He's like, "All right, we had enough. Shall we go?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to go yet." And because you had to get on these shuttle buses to go back to the main gate of Universal Studios. And I remember seeing after the show on social media, people like Drew and a few others posting photos of the event at the back end of the day when there weren't many people left and how cool it was. And I was like, damn it. Yeah. I should have stuck around. Good old FOMO.
Yeah, we see. I live that life as well. I would be kicking myself thinking, "Oh, I missed out on some really fun times there right at the end." But at the same time, I'd be so grateful that I was back in my air conditioning, in front of my laptop or doing whatever.
I have two questions. One being, how many people asked you about the ride height of the 996? Sorry, you don't really have to answer that one. But the second one being, one thing that I found at Luft was you reach a point where, the old phrase sensory overload, you do experience that to a degree, because you find yourself walking past cars that if you saw in quote unquote real life, aka if you saw them out on the street, you would lose your mind over them. But because they're parked in a row of 17 similar cars, you just kind of stop noticing. Do you know what I mean? Did you have any of that?
So I did get that experience at Luft, but I have to say, honestly, no, I didn't get to that saturation point with Checked It Out Chicago. And maybe it was because my car was in the show. Maybe it was because, I've got more of an appreciation for what it takes to work on a car and, to make it your own. And there were lots of modified Porsches there. But no, I didn't hit that point. But I think that's true. I think at some point that probably would have happened. But it's funny about the ride height. No, nobody mentioned anything about the ride height at the event.
They're too polite.
No, right. But I was either scrolling through Facebook or Instagram looking just at people's general posts with hashtags check22 or whatever. And and I found one photo of my car, and there was a comment under it from one guy who was like, "Hey, wow, I really love the blue color of that 996." And somebody replied, "Well, that's James from Auto Amateur. He was there. I blah, blah, blah." And then the other guy replies, "Good Jesus, he's got to lower it though." So I did get that comment just indirectly through Facebook. Oh, I don't know.
Love it. Yeah. Well, I'm very jealous. Very jealous.
Well, so tell me about your rally, a winter rally, no less.
The winter rally. It was amazing. So there's always, let me step back a bit. So we have our Alpine Range rally. This year, we're only doing it once. We typically do it twice, but because we're doing a trip to Tasmania, we're only doing one Alpine Range rally. And what happens is we typically do one at the back end of the year, so usually November, and then say March. And so you have this kind of maybe 4 months between them. But then through the winter months, there's this kind of bleak period where we don't have a rally. And, we certainly manage to drive during winter, but, we won't go away for a multi-day rally. So our standard Sunday morning drive, you're usually home by, I don't know, 11 o'clock in the morning or 10:30 in the morning even.
Okay.
So I wanted to organize a run that was basically a full day and let us travel further afield, travel some roads we'd never driven before, and just have a bigger experience. So that's how we planned the day. We had actually originally intended to do it a few weeks prior, but I'd had to cancel. But so we had 14 cars, and bizarrely enough, because Melbourne has been just relentless rain for months.
Oh, really?
Months. It's been awful. Yeah, it's been shocking. And bizarrely, on Sunday, it was blue skies, sunshine. The weather could not have been better. And it was just a great drive. I think everybody was so excited to be out driving again, to be out driving in this beautiful weather. It does change your perception of the day. It changes the way you experience that drive. You don't feel like you're battling the elements. You feel like you have the choices. You can have your windows down, your windows up. You can drive however you want to. And the roads we drove, so in a pod a little while back, maybe 6 weeks ago, I talked about taking a Monday off and going for a drive. I'd used that drive to recce some of these roads. And typically when you're driving here in Victoria in Australia, so much of the driving we do is under the canopy of forest, bushland, rainforest and the like. Mm-hmm. Whereas so much of the driving we did on Sunday was on elevated roads with green rolling hills as far as the eye could see. You know, we could have been in the Welsh countryside. It was just that beautiful.
Oh, really? And
yeah, it was incredible. And then we had, like I said, we had 14 cars, and it was a really interesting mix because we're also, the same cars, same group kind of rolls up week in, week out. We had a few people who don't typically attend our drives, but as well, a lot of people in the group have acquired new cars. So of the 14 cars, 6 of them were GT cars.
Wow. You got fancy friends, my friend. Fancy friends.
Well, and you notice it in the photos, because suddenly it's not just, a bunch of 996s and air-cooled cars and, the usual kind of mix that we have. Yeah. So there was 4 GT4s, 2 GT3s, one of which is a 992 GT3, the other of which is a 996.2 GT3 former Cup car. So it was just this really cool, different mix of cars. And for a couple of us, it was our first proper drive in our GT4s, the first opportunity to really have a full experience on dry roads. So that was terrific for me, and I genuinely enjoyed it. I feel as though the GT4 has actually been more of an adjustment than I thought it would be.
Oh, in what way?
Well, I think a lot of people talk about how you need to learn to drive a 911, and to be honest, when I bought my 964, for some reason, I don't know why, but that car always just felt very natural to me. The weight balance of the rear engine, all of these things, it never felt like something I had to really adjust to. Sometimes I find in other 911s, the lightness of the front end is more apparent to me. And obviously my car being all-wheel drive, I think impacts on that. But yeah, I always feel at home in a 911, whereas the mid-engine layout of the Cayman, it behaves differently. It turns differently. It rotates in a tight corner a lot differently. So I have had to actually learn some of these things again. And I feel like the more I drive the car now, the more I'm starting to unlock it and kind of unlock its secrets and level up. I think the challenge I had on Sunday was that because I'd organised the rally, I'd set up all the maps. I was leading for a lot of the rally. And I think what I really need next is to just do some normal driving on our normal roads and follow some of my friends who I typically drive with to get the pace right. Because what I found was I would come into a corner and I just can't judge. I can't judge the corner speed yet. Right. I think, because I think, your understanding of, my 964, I've gone around tens of thousands of corners in that car at speed and have become so intimately aware of the limits in it, the feedback. It's so granular now that I feel 100% confident and comfortable in the car, whereas I haven't developed that yet with the GT4. And so I would come into a corner and think, yeah, I can take the corner at this speed, and then last minute kind of chicken out and think, I'm not sure if I can. So I'd jump on the anchors harder than I needed to, get through the corner and think, oh shit, I actually went too slow through that corner. So then I'd just be second gear, just revving the piss out of it, up the next straight. So I'm not driving as smoothly as I would in the 964, and that'll just be time. But it's ace. The sound of it is incredible. The ride quality for a car that is as stiff as it is and corners the way it does, it is not harsh at all. It is
really
super comfortable. Yeah, it just magnificent, actually. Probably my only two issues with it were I cannot get a position of, I don't know if you're a drive with the windows up or windows down kind of guy. I tend to be both. And I love the way the car sounds with the windows up because you get so much intake noise. Yeah. But then with the windows down, you get a lot more exhaust noise, and it changes the personality. So I like that too. I found it really difficult to find a setting where I could have the driver's side window down and not have that kind of buffeting, whatever that sort of vortexy buffeting thing was.
Yeah.
So I haven't sorted that out yet. And it's trudging back on the highway at the end of the drive. We had sort of an hour and a half drive home, and the road noise and that transmission noise, it gets it's not as comfortable for cruising, I'll say that. But unreal.
I'm sorry that your diamond wallet is too tight for your hundreds.
I know. I sound like that guy. I do.
I've heard that the GT cars take a lot of getting used to, and I can imagine that. And I drove a manual GT3RS recently, and Well, first off, the 0 to 60 times mean nothing to somebody like me driving a manual GT3 RS, because I'm pretty sure I could have beaten myself in my own Carrera than I was in the GT3 RS with a manual transmission. Good Lord. So that's just embarrassing. But yeah, I get it. It's a 911, but it's not a 911. It's a Cayman, but it's not a Cayman. It's a different machine altogether.
The other feedback I'd offer is that you read so many articles, see so many YouTube videos where they talk about the gearing being too tall in the GT4. People have talked about it being the car's Achilles heel and the one thing holding it back, yada, yada, yada. I really expected that to be a problem for me, and I'm just not finding it to be one at all. The amount of time I spend with that car in second gear, revving the piss out of it, it's unreal. And there's a lot more torque than you would expect it to have. And not once so far have I found myself thinking these long gear ratios are really a problem for me. I just haven't experienced it. It's I think it's clearly there and it's clearly a consideration, but I think because it has been mentioned ad nauseum in every single review ever, I think it's overstated, and I think its impact on the experience driving the car is overstated, because I don't think it limits the level of enjoyment you get out of the car one bit. Not for me, at least.
Who were all of these people complaining about these phenomenal cars? I want to meet them and give them a slap.
Yeah, just people who don't know anything, right? Just the most respected automotive journalists in the world.
These cars are so good, though. It's like, I'm going to have to find something to bitch about it. Otherwise, I can't be considered an expert anymore. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Did you say I'm cynical? All right. Now, Andy, this is where my cynicism just melts away. Let's talk about video of the week, because this one is exceptional. This is there are YouTube videos and there are good YouTube videos, and then there are Hollywood quality movies that deserve some attention, but they're only released on YouTube. And I think this is one of those latters.
You hadn't. Okay, so let me just give a little context. When I first got my 964 and I started looking for Porsche content on YouTube, I stumbled onto Petrolicious, right? Everyone has spent time on Petrolicious. And, you know, the quality of content they were producing back in, 2017, 18, 19, I think was just incredible. Now, they went through, there was some controversy around them, and I think I'm not sure what the current status is of Petrolicious, but I love this one. So this one's called The Minimalist, and it features Porsche owner Kurt Gerhardt and his Tangerine 911T. I reckon I've watched this video 20 times. It is so good. I love his attitude. I love his house. I love his cars. I love the way it's shot. I love the sound. I just love it.
It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. There were no credits at the end of it. I was actually quite surprised to see that, because the cinematography, the lighting, just the choice of the shots and the time of day and how it's all sewn together is the type of thing you'd expect from a top of the line Netflix documentary or like a Porsche commercial, frankly, on TV that they'd spend millions on for the Super Bowl. I mean, really fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it does. It's such a good point, because what they've managed to do, and I think Petrolicious videos do it really well, or have done, is, on a reasonably low budget, create something that feels exquisite and high budget. And, they do it incredibly well. And actually, I think it's one of the things that Ted Gashu has done with Type 7, where he's ensured that their videos actually have credits, and I think that's a really nice thing. I think if you've got great creatives working on your content, I think crediting them is terrific. But one of the things I love about this piece is, a lot of the footage is him kind of driving around downtown LA, and which is stuff that we've seen on some of Magnus's videos over the years, but it actually feels fresh. It feels like you want to go and drive there. And the sound of that car, man, the sound design they've done on this is just spectacular. It's got such a good mix. You listen to the rasp of that flat six, and it's like, oh my God, I have to have a long hood.
Yeah.
And the other thing I love about that car is it's not perfect. He's had half a paint job done on it. When you see the close-ups of it, it's got overspray and it's not particularly shiny, and it's just got Steely's wheels on it. But the stance is spot on. The sound is spot on. It's one of my favorite cars on YouTube ever, and I just love that video. So we will post a link to it in our story and in our Instagram, in our bio on Instagram.
And that's a Tangerine 911T. Tangerine.
Yeah, it looks super red, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I originally thought it was Guards Red.
Very nice. So there you go, Andy. I think that might be another episode. What's going on with you this weekend?
It's Father's Day here, and I don't know if it's Father's Day there, but anyway, it's Father's Day, and there is a car show. And my wife said, "What do you want to do on Father's Day?" I said, "Maybe we could go to this car show." We don't go to that many. And she's like, "Yeah, it's your day." So I am going to jam my entire family, which, a 15-year-old and 17-year-old in the back seat of Little Green, Kath in the front seat, and force them to drive 45 minutes into the city with me so we can go to a car show.
They're going to be absolutely miserable. They can't take the regular family car while you drive in the 964. No, you're going to force them all in that. Yeah.
Do you know what? They probably could, but where's the fun in that?
For you.
Yeah, exactly. But what's going to be bad is last time we did something like that, every time we go over a speed bump, my daughter's head would hit the rear windscreen.
Oh, no.
Oh, Dad, slow down. Sorry. What about you? What's on your agenda?
Well, it's not Father's Day. This is Labor Day weekend coming up here in the US. And it's like a long weekend for everybody. It kind of marks the end of the summer. The Minnesota State Fair is on the last 12 days in August, or the last 12 days leading up to Labor Day, basically. It's a huge event here. You know, it's not for car enthusiasts. You just go and eat the junk food, jump on the rides, look at the cars on Machinery Hill. Maybe see, like last year, I think we saw the Beach Boys in concert. They were there, or the Beach Boys singular. There's one of them left. Right. You know, I don't know if it's going to be Miley Cyrus or whoever.
Were you and Ruthie slow dancing to Kokomo? Come on.
Among other hits. Yeah, so the Minnesota State Fair is huge. That was the first thing that Ruthie told me about living here in Minnesota. She was like, it's the home of the best state fair in the country. And I was like, what's a state fair? I've got no idea.
Yeah, 100%.
When she explained it to me, sounds like my idea of hell. Thousands of people out in the open sunshine in a, you know, sort of enclosed area with fried food and treats. And actually, it's so good. So I'm doing that with the kids. I'll probably go on Saturday and Sunday and Monday.
What?
Yeah. We're State Fair nuts. It's so good. It's so good. But there you go. That's it. That's us. That's another episode. Go ahead.
All right, my man. I better go and get some work done.
Yeah, you do that. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to probably have to start editing this. Listeners, thank you very much for tuning in, as ever. You know, if you got questions for us, let us know. If you liked Video of the Week, drop it into the comments of the post on Instagram. I've been James from Auto Amateur. Andy has been a blast from Last Rasp. Hey, it rhymes.
Oh, look at that.
And we've been Curb and Canyon.
See you on the next one, guys.